Welcome, welcome. Hi, my name is Douglas Williamson. I'm going to be leading you through today's session on transformative transformation literacy. Please allow me to share my screen. This is the third Transformation Literacy Conference. This is the 2024 version. This year, we're going to be focusing on localizing SDG impacts. And we are going to be having a special focus this year, or on today's session, on collaborative initiatives and partnerships. So first of all, welcome. I think most of you were in the soft welcome just before. We do have some more people joining us from the CLI team, as well as some other participants who are joining us from around the world. It's great to see everybody and to have you here with us today. So um, I'm going to be your host. As I said, my name is Douglas F. Williamson. I'm one of the managing partners of the Collective Leadership Institute. We have several other of our partners as well as staff with us today. Thank you, team. I have to update this photo. It is an old photo, and I am not that young anymore, but maybe still as pretty. In any case, thank you for joining us today. As I said, I'm going to be your host, Douglas Williamson. I think most of you had the opportunity already to hear me and meet me in the soft welcome. If you didn't and you weren't there, welcome. This is the main session for our conference today. And I just want to thank my support team at CLI. They're going to be in the background. You will see all of us with our orange backgrounds. We're here to answer questions. The chat box is open, and I will give you some instructions if you haven't already figured out how to use that. So just a few words about the Collective Leadership Institute. If you have not had much of an opportunity to interact with us in the past, CLI is an independent nonprofit organization, originally based and founded in Germany in 2005. We also have offices and staff members in South Africa, in Egypt, in Spain, Ukraine, and in the United States. CLI is a cutting-edge organization with a deep expertise in bringing emerging leadership paradigms and concepts to multi-stakeholder processes and projects. And all of this very much fits in with supporting the SDGs. Specifically, we find our home in SDG 17 on partnerships. CLI works in four main pillars or ways. We have our academy. In our academy, these are our courses. We offer courses on the building stakeholder systems with the dialogic change model, on diagnosing and planning complex multi-stakeholder collaboration initiatives with the Collective Leadership Compass. And then we also offer a couple of more specialized and deeper courses on transformation and transformation networks, as well as on facilitation of multi-stakeholder collaboration and complex collaboration processes. With our transformation stewardship pillar, that is the sort of bulk of our casework. That's really where we design and accompany projects and processes over longer periods of time. And of course, those projects and processes are all trying to serve the achievement of the SDGs. We also have a pillar of our work in what we're calling still thought leadership, where we're providing research and trying to get out collective leadership methodologies for people to use in their transformation and change efforts. Also, we can consider today's conference as part of that thought leadership pillar. And then finally, our final pillar, not last or least, but our final pillar is on movement building. And you may have heard, if you were in our soft check-in, that one of our participants, Barry Shelley, mentioned that he was a specialist. We train people up to a certain degree, which we call specialists, and then they become a part of our community of collective leadership practitioners. Any of you can join. If you do, you can do so most likely through our academy. I'm taking some courses, and I think Martin will post up some links, and we will have certainly links and ways for you to learn more about our specialist program, our training courses, also how to join us if you are interested in working with us more deeply through our transformation stewardship. Certainly links to a lot of our research and writing, and if you are interested, certainly becoming a part of our community, all of that is possible. The Transformation Literacy Conference program for the week. Today is the first of 3 sessions. Today's sessions are on localizing the SDGs through collaborative initiatives and partnerships. We also have a session on Wednesday, same time, which is about localizing SDGs in exchange networks and communities of practice. And then on Friday, also same time, we are going to be focusing on localizing SDGs through transformation networks and meta collaboration, all at the same time, 2 p.m. CET, Central European Time. Today's session, which is focusing on collaborative initiatives and partnerships, I will be welcoming you and providing an introduction as well as a more theoretical framework about transformation literacy generally, but then also specifically about the lens of the collective leadership compass that we are going to use today to listen to our cases. We will have a couple of presentations. Unfortunately, one of our presenters fell ill, and so instead of 3 presenters, we will only have 2 and 2 cases. But you should still have plenty of room to interact and to look at these cases through the lens of the collective leadership compass that I will present a little bit later. Then you will have an opportunity to actually interact with each other, as well as have the speaker of the case that you choose. In a breakout room, you will have the opportunity to look at their case, to talk about it through the lens of the collective leadership compass that I will introduce later. And then we will come back, we will have some reporting and reflecting on the experience of looking at the case through the lens of the collective leadership compass. I think important to mention at this stage is that this conference is meant to offer you, the participants, the opportunity to do some practice. Transformation literacy is an emerging practice, and we would like you as well to interact with transformation literacy as we understand it, to try to start to understand how it is that we practice transformation literacy, or how that we practice our transformation work in the world. In general, this work is about perceiving patterns and patterns of aliveness in collaboration systems. And we will have the opportunity to do some practice together today to try to perceive what are the patterns of aliveness or patterns of vitality in these different cases that are going to be presented. Okay. Just a couple of technical notes. So while we are together in plenary, you can see me and the rest of the CLI team, but you cannot see the other participants. You can interact with each other through the chat. And I highly recommend that you do make sure that you turn on your chat. And please, when you do turn on your chat and you have the opportunity, make sure that you're sending messages to everyone. If you do want to send direct messages to people, you can choose that as well. There is also an opportunity to pose questions in the Q&A box. You can ask questions to the facilitation team, myself or others, as well as to the presenters. You can also send in some reactions if you want to put in some smiley faces or thumbs up. You're more than welcome to do that as well. So please, hopefully you're all familiar with these functions. Oh, there goes a heart right there. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Okay, now that you know how to use the chat, we're going to have a brief check-in. And for our check-in today, just a way for us to have the opportunity to be present, please, in the text chat, type in a response to this question. Why is transformation important to you? And we're going to give you 5 minutes. Think about it, type in your answer, but also read everybody else's answer as they start to come in the chat. I think that will be pretty fun. We should see some very interesting answers. So I'm going to give you 5 whole minutes now. I will stop talking. Please pop into the chat and type in your answer. Why is transformation important to you? Okay. I want to sort of close out that little chat. We have a group that is joining us, a full group, like a class of participants that are joining us from southern Germany. And I was hoping, yes, there is our watch party in Konstanz, Germany, with Maike and her students. Willkommen. Ja, vielen Dank, dass
Hi.
euch dabei seid. Please, yeah, say hello and tell us just what you're doing together there.
Yeah, hi, Douglas. This is Constance, University of Constance. We are a group of 10 students. It's a course, a third-year course of sustainability and society. And yeah, we are participating here. I'm the professor. My name is Maike Zippel, and I'm a collective leadership specialist and thought this would be a nice form of interaction. And back to you, Douglas.
Thanks so much, Micah, and to all you students down in Konstanz, Germany. We're really happy to have you with us, and we really do hope that you continue to learn about collective leadership and how, as well, to take our tools and methodologies to bring transformation out in the world. Something, and I had a very, very cursory scroll through the comments and the check-in, and a couple of words are coming, sort of pop out to me in the check-in, and it's not inclusive as you could tell. I did not have the time to read all of the comments, but something that sort of comes through to me is the inevitability of transformation, but also the urgency of transformation. And I think that urgency, it's one of the reasons why we're all here. We all do feel the urgency and need for transforming the way the world is. And that's something that we're hoping that we'll be able to provide you with some tools on over the course of this conference today and Wednesday and Friday, but also in the future as we all continue to find our way in this new world, how we can make it into a better world. So thanks for the check-in. Just a couple of notes on our norms when we do interact with each other. These are just some agreements. Normally, I would ask you to generate them with me, but we don't have the time. So I just would like to stress that our norms for the conference today are that we are going to agree to embody respect in our interactions. Please be patient, especially with any technical glitches, and patient with me, your moderator for the day. Express your views if you are going to speak in the, with your microphone. Please express your views clearly and concisely. When you are listening today, try to really listen actively and appreciatively and seek to understand, not necessarily to respond, but to understand. And try to suspend your judgment. Remain open to other people's perspectives. And if we can follow these norms today, I think we will have a very lovely interaction, respectful, and also generating some insights, which is what we would like to do. We have set 3 goals for our conference today, and I just want to articulate them before we move on. So our goals today, we want to celebrate transformation practitioners, learn about some concrete cases. We want to apply our collective leadership compass lenses over the course of this conference to both perceive and enhance patterns of aliveness in collaboration ecosystems, and we want to enhance collective leadership communities' capacity for transformation literacy. That's you. That's what we like to do with you today and Wednesday and Friday. Okay, I think that's enough of the introduction. I'm going to get down into a little bit of framing on a conceptual level. Also, you may notice that I have a glass of water here. If you have a glass of water, please make sure that you're well hydrated. We do have an eco-hydrologist in the house today. She will also tell you hydration is very important. Okay, so just to give a little bit of a theoretical framework, and I'm going to talk at you for 10 or 15 minutes now. Please excuse me. We define transformation literacy as the ability to design, implement, and learn from transformative change. We define it as the knowledge and capacity of groups of decision makers, that's you, change agents, that's you, and institutional actors, also you, to steward transformations. We say that transformation literacy is the capacity to collectively identify functional patterns and shift dysfunctional patterns of societal and human to nature interactions. And the objective is to increase aliveness and vitality in these systems that are going to lead to transformative outcomes. There's a few things I want to sort of expand on right there and just zoom in, especially on the last two bullet points. We really have this focus, and if you've worked with us or interacted with us, that we focus on shifting or moving towards systems aliveness. That is a core concept that we want everybody to hold, that we are moving towards more aliveness in our interaction systems or collaboration systems, or just in our societal systems in general. The way we try to think of transformation literacy as a practice or a set of skills are we want to deepen your knowledge and practice on three levels of transformation literacy. Mindset, and that's your own individual mindset, but also the mindset of the people in your collaboration system. We want to have you understand systems or be able to understand systems more. And we also want you to have a greater competence in the process for actually designing and implement transformative initiatives or projects. When we think about what does transformation literacy mean, it means to connect people with the vision or visions, multiple visions of regenerative civilizations that foster the ability of multiple actors from the local to the global level. And we're definitely focusing on local impacts today, but we want those to radically change the way that we or they operate. Transformation literacy, it's meant to help us steward these kinds of transformations that model aspects of future regenerative civilizations. As I said before, we want to have a focus on these three levels, on mindset, ours, and others, but also systems and process. So transformation literacy is intended to help us to shift paradigms, to create new narratives. It's intended to help us see the interconnectedness as well as capitalize on that interconnectedness. It's meant to help us envision multiple possible thriving and regenerative futures. It's intended to foster a sense of universal responsibility for other people, but all living beings. And it's meant to help us perceive how systemic transformations can actually happen. So we do want to have a focus on this fostering of mindsets, of interconnectedness, but we want to couple that with expertise of how and when people can learn together to co-create the future collectively. I think that encompasses sort of some of the thoughts that I have about transformation literacy. And moving towards a sort of skill, this third bullet point on your screen where we talk about patterns, I think is something which we are going to try to really focus on today. and which is an integral part of our work at the Collective Leadership Institute in using the Collective Leadership Compass and its different lenses. We're focusing on 3 separate lenses in the conference this week. Today, we have one that's going to focus specifically on the collaborative initiatives and partnerships. But we really want to try to help you, the participants, to start to perceive patterns. And we think that pattern recognition is really a key capacity for transformation literacy. And we can sort of frame that in a question like, what are the interconnected qualities in a system that either enhance or dampen the vitality or aliveness of that system? Okay, splendid right there. So today, as I said, we're focusing on collaborative initiatives and multi-stakeholder partnerships. And I just want to sort of give a very superficial definition of how we understand partnerships, multi-stakeholder partnerships, or collaborative initiatives. When we think about them, there is a certain level of formality. It doesn't have to be super, super formal, but there has to be some kind of agreements when we're talking about partnerships or collaborative initiatives. They can be also very formal and very strict, but there has to be some level of formalization. These kinds of collaboration systems, there is a coordination or joint implementation. Generally, there are clear aims, objectives, timelines, and expected outcomes for collaboration initiatives and partnerships. There are predictable structures, usually, and I think that probably you all know these, but generally in partnerships and in formalized collaborations, there are certain structures that we can predict. And in multi-stakeholder partnerships, for sure, but also generally in collaborative initiatives, we're trying to ensure that there is participation from multiple societal sectors, the public sector, private sector, civil society, potentially media, academia, and other kinds of groups. So just making sure that you have that in mind. Now I'm going to stretch out because we lost a speaker on stewarding our patterns in the Collective Leadership Compass Collaboration Catalyst Lens. So our first collaboration catalyst that we're looking at today is called co-design strategy. And we can say briefly a definition that all relevant stakeholders are driving strategy and implementation. In partnerships, this catalyst is enhanced by setting and having clear goals, by maintaining a focus on inclusivity, and by ensuring accountability through strong role definition and ownership of implementing actors. That is co-design strategy. Our next collaboration catalyst is cooperative delivery. And we define it superficially as the ownership and result orientation are defined or ensured through high-quality stakeholder engagement processes. Cooperative delivery, may be enhanced by good management of engagement processes, by building networks and connections among stakeholders at all levels in the system, and by leaning on result orientation to focus implementers on progress. Our third collaboration catalyst is adaptive innovation. And adaptive innovation superficially can be defined as when we say transformation prototypes are co-created and attention is paid to emergent opportunities. This catalyst needs creative energy to try new approaches. It relies on leveraging stakeholder knowledge and using it effectively, and requires implementers to have on-the-go learning mechanisms in place that allow them to react to emergent challenges and opportunities. Our fourth catalyst today is collective value. And collective value is when collaboration creates value for all stakeholders through balanced influence and integration of weaker stakeholders. This catalyst is about enhancing shared human values through taking an appreciative approach of all stakeholders by balancing power and ensuring that weaker stakeholders are empowered and given an adequate voice, and by fostering mutual understanding among all stakeholders. Our fifth catalyst is dialogic communication. And that can be defined as communication architectures that exist or are designed. They acknowledge diversity and create cohesion in networks. This catalyst asks us to ensure that the partnership is managing a strong, structured dialogic approach, that we implement governance mechanisms and structures that are inclusive and increase the diversity of perspectives, and that the partnership or collaboration include collective learning mechanisms. And finally, our sixth catalyst is called contextual impact. Contextual impact means that change has relevance for the stakeholder system and is embedded in larger transformations. To enhance this catalyst, implementers are asked to maintain a focus on the relevance of the efforts of the larger context, also to empower stakeholders in their common capacity to facilitate and steward transformation initiatives, and lastly, to be able to step back with frequency to perceive the impact of the initiative. Okay, I just want to stop there for a second because that was a lot of information. I stopped sharing. I didn't mean to do that. Let me just put this back up here again. Okay. Oops, sorry. This is the collaboration catalyst of the collective leadership compass lens. And this is the lens that we're asking you today to use to listen to the cases that are presented, that you will be hearing right now in the presentations, but also when you go into the breakout groups, to really try to perceive and to talk about what are the patterns that are emerging. So when you listen to the presentations that are coming up, please try and keep in mind the collective leadership compass collaboration catalysts, these 6 catalysts which may enhance your collaborative initiatives or partnerships. Okay. All right. We're going to move into presentations. I hope that's okay for everybody. I hope that you have, yes, enough information. I just took a look in the chat, and I just want to address a couple of things that, because we're asking you to listen to the presentations through this lens, you will have access when we get to the breakout groups. You will have access to these slides, and you will have access to the slides of the presenters as well, to take a look at them and to sort of try and pull all this together, so that when you do start to discuss, you will have this in mind. But for now, for these presentations, I do want you to try to listen as actively as possible without too many distractions. But also try and keep these collaboration catalysts in the back of your mind, so that when you're listening, you are already starting to filter the presentations through these 6 catalysts. Okay. Today's speakers, we have Absa Mbodj, who's joining us from Senegal. Constantine or Kostia unfortunately fell ill today. And so I do want to thank him just in his absence for agreeing. And unfortunately, he was going to be joining us from Kiev, but fell ill. And we also have Gina, Bonne with us. And I will introduce our 2 speakers today individually. So Absa Mbodj, who's joining us today from Senegal. I had the pleasure of training her very, very briefly a few weeks ago. She is an officer at the Senegalese NGO Enda Pronat, where she's leading efforts to foment an agroecological transition in Senegal, and she's going to share on that. Absa, I'm going to stop sharing because Absa herself is going to share her own slides. So if Absa is present, oh, she's present.
Yes,
I'd like to welcome you. I'd like to welcome you into the video and to the chat. Turn on your microphone and please share your slides. The floor is yours, and participants, please pay close attention.
So thank you very much for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm greeting everyone who's following us. So I'm going to walk you through this presentation, which is about the contribution of local and national networks to sustainable development in West Africa. And I'm gonna have a specific focus on a Senegalese experience with DTS. So to put it all in context, I just have to summarize the agricultural situation in West Africa, which is facing many challenges since the past decades. They are mainly due to climate change, land degradation, dependence on external inputs. And in that context, since 2018, actors from food system around the region, so the West African region, are organizing themselves, gatherings through MSPs with the aim of scaling up agroecology. So agroecology is seen as a sustainable solution to tackle those issues I mentioned earlier, and they are organizing themselves in MSPs, whether it is at the local scale, at the national scale, and at the regional scale. So I'm gonna focus this presentation on one initiative, which is at the national scale, which is the one I work for, and it is the Dynamic for National Agroecological Transition in Senegal, so DTS, which is a countrywide MSP that currently counts 78 diverse members, and that was created in 2019. So very quickly, I'm gonna walk you through the vision that we have at DTS, which is by 2063, Senegal achieves food security and sovereignty through agroecology, meaning that we had to build or have one common understanding of agroecology, which is a wide science. So here is a little bit of the common understanding that we have on agroecology. To make it quick, maybe it's just about the comprehension we have on agroecology. Mostly that for DTS, it is a synergy between local traditional agriculture and indigenous knowledge on agriculture and science that will help us to build alternative production systems. We also at DTS agree on the 10 elements of agroecology that the Food and Agriculture Organization have developed. Finally, we believe deeply in that agroecology is an effective means of sustainably addressing food, environmental, and economic crises in Senegal. So as I mentioned earlier, 2063, which is the very long vision, the long-term vision, and the middle-term vision is by 2035. The DIAS is working to promote an agroecological transition in Senegal, whether it is through advocacy, awareness raising, experience sharing, and support for territories in transition. So the principles that unite us are numerous. Here are some. So first, I mentioned earlier that we were diverse actors. So we have a complementarity between the actors that is quite a strength, and which is a very principle that we lean on. We also have autonomy of action and free expression, meaning that there is no real restriction in the dynamic as long as it is helping us go through the challenges. And last is there is an horizontality of relations, meaning that we do not have a very strict hierarchy, even if we are organized.
Absa, I've lost your voice. Is Absa still present?
We have many differences, so we have to find common grounds to actually make it work. To do it, we have elaborated a memorandum of understanding to mainly know what is the core things that is uniting us around agroecology, that we wrote it and that each member signed and that each new member also signed. We have inclusive governance bodies. We try to have the representation of the different type of stakeholders in every committees, and we have a secretariat that coordinates these committees, and that enables us to host regular meetings and have communication among actors, which is quite regular. And we also now, to have short-term goals, we elaborate a roadmap. So most of the time it is a year roadmap, but this year we did it for 2 years, where we put all the actions that we want to realize by the end of the year, and that will help us to actually contribute to our global vision. And an example of event that we host and that usually gather many stakeholders of DTIS is the caravans or agroecology days that enable us to really interact with DTIS members, but also communities. We that enables us also to co-product scientific evidence with local communities for our advocacy, and to really anchor our action and to be more localized. Since 2021, DTIS have created a subnational MSP called DTIL that localized the actions of DTIS within the country. And all of our actions are evaluated during the General Assembly that is currently hosted every 2 years. And for each committee, we have an annual evaluation. So how does all of this contribute to localizing the SDGs impact? Let's start here, from details to DTIS. So the L is just standing for local and the S is for Senegal, but it is the same dynamic. So since we started our work first at the national scale, we quickly realized that to promote agroecology, to work with local communities, we really had to be anchored in local territories. So which makes us here at a local scale, we have like different, so I don't know how it is in English, but we have like different sub-organizations. So we have regions, departments, commune, and we have like such as local authorities, which are governors or mayor, etc. And at the local scale, we have DTIL, so the dynamic for transition agroecology at a local level. So this data, in this DTIL, we find the same type of members I listed earlier, the same type of actors, but that are really anchored in a territory, and that share the same belief in agroecology and want that transformation. So this group work at a local level to implement an agroecological transition on a territorial scale. This work they're doing enable them to create synergy among actors and scale up local initiatives. There's a lot of community outreach, so a lot of raising awareness, a lot of sensitizations, and a lot of workshops too, but also a lot of activity on the field. And all of that is also monitored and evaluated every year to improve. And the work that the DTIL is doing at the local level first is, so there's a work among the actors to raise awareness and to build transformation, but there is also a local political dialogue that is installed with that dynamic. So DTIL have a local political dialogue with local representatives. And here we are on the national scale. We have also DTIS that I presented earlier. So there are interactions between DTIS and DTIL. So between DTIS and DTIL mostly support DTIL, whether it is on a technical base, material, financial, or political, since it is DTIS that preceded and that had that endorsement in regards to the local authorities. And so DTIS also support DTIS in regards to advocacy tool or advocacy method. But on the other way also, DTIL have an influence and an impact on DTIS because the DTIL are the ones that are producing the evidence based on local initiatives and experiment to support the national political dialogue. So the advocacy of DTIS is based on what the DTIL are doing and on what initiatives the detail are identifying to support the national political dialogue. This means that for DTIS, the role of detail is really crucial because we cannot have one type of advocacy for all the type of producers or farmers at the national scale, since we have diverse problems from a region to another. So coming back here at the national scale now, DTIS that is constantly in dialogue with political or national authorities enables detail to have a state and endorsement. Since I said earlier, the advocacy is based on what details do. And that at the national scales, it also enables a communication between local scale and national scale, specifically on agroecological questions or matters because of the work that we are doing. So that is, so this is just an example of the caravan I was mentioning earlier. So we really go through the country, meeting communities, and really try to formulate recommendations for our advocacies, but also work. And you can see here the diversity of the members. Here is a local elected person. This is a researcher. This is a media. So you have very diverse type of stakeholders. And the work we do help us produce these documents that you are seeing. So we have produced some policy briefs, a contribution on national policies. And so these are some of the documents that we produce. And our work is really it helps us to contribute to 12 SDGs at a local and national scale, whether it is in terms of political orientations or in terms of action. So I won't be developing this slide, you will get it, but it is just to highlight what the impact we have on the SDGs. And here is just an example of achievements that we have through the work of DTIS since its creation. Is that since 2021, for the first time in Senegal, the government took strong actions, such as the first subsidy of organic fertilizers, up to 10% of the national budget dedicated for chemical fertilizers through the national territory. So it is not the big step that it is not the final goal, but it is at least a small step that is encouraging the work. And there are others, but this is the one I wanted to highlight. So basically that is what I wanted to share about our MSP. I hope I did not take too much time, and I thank you for your attention.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Absa, thank you. That was really really inspiring presentation, and I think that for me anyway, listening to it through the lens of the collaboration catalysts, yeah, it was firing off a lot of very interesting ideas about what patterns I was perceiving, and I hope that everybody else had that opportunity as well. Absa, thank you so much for that presentation. It was really, really excellent and strong, and I think provides a lot of opportunity for discussing through the lens of the collaboration catalyst for today. I'd like to now invite our next speaker to come into the chat and to activate her microphone and just for me to give a welcome to Gina Bonne. Gina is joining us from Mauritius today, which is in the middle of the Indian Ocean. She is the Chargée de Mission, the head of the Department of Environment and Climate Change at the Indian Ocean Commission, which is a 5-country intergovernmental organization that is addressing numerous sustainability challenges in the Indian Ocean. Gina, I hope you're present. Please tell me when you want me to shift to the next slide, and I will. Gina, the floor is yours just tell me next slide and I will move.
Okay. I bring you all greetings from Mauritius. Good afternoon to everyone. We are towards the closing of the day here, but I'm happy to be part of this discussion and to be with you. So my presentation will be basically to give you an insight of what the Indian Ocean Commission is doing. And it's basically, I sort of narrowed the discussion today on education, because this is where we think that it is a very stronghold where we can really make changes through education. Next slide, please. I'll just give you an overview of the Indian Ocean Commission. It is a very small commission with only 5 member states. And we have the islands of the Comoros, we have France, but France is sitting in for one of their overseas department, which is the Réunion Islands. We have Madagascar, which is a very big island, I would say. Then we have Mauritius, where the Secretariat of the Indian Ocean Commission is sitting. And then we have the Seychelles, which is a little bit further up north of Madagascar. As a commission, what we do, we promote cooperation, collaboration amongst the member states, the island states of the Indian Ocean. But in some of the work that we do, we go beyond the Indian Ocean islands. We work sometimes with the coast of East Africa. And lately, we've extended some of the works that we are doing to the west coast of Africa, to the island states of West Africa. And I think this is where we sort of bring share the knowledge, try to enhance the need for cooperation amongst island states, and how we can exchange information and make the transformative changes that we will want to see for the African islands, especially. Again, what we decided to probably just to give you an insight of why we decided to go for education to environment. Next slide, please. The approach that we took was to look at the sustainable development goal on a holistic, to take a holistic approach to sustainable development. And there are various reasons why the IOC decided to work on education. One, it's because we in the island states, you know, when the island states, we are confronted with so many challenges, environmental degradation. So this was one of the main reasons why we thought it would be good that we tackle sustainable development through education. Secondly, there was this perception all over that environment is an impediment to development. We wanted to change that narrative, because coming from islands where we don't have many, the space is very limited, you know, in terms of the surface area. We have huge ocean space, but we don't have many land. So it is important that we know how do we use that resources that we have in a very effective manner. And we do not have a lot of human resources either in some of the islands, because the populations are very small. So how do we bring all that together? And when we look at the islands as well, the economy is based basically on tourism, fisheries, and also in some of the islands, it's also agriculture. So how do we bring all that together? The nexus between all these systems, we need to ensure that they work out very well, and we make use of our resources, not only the human resources, the financial resources that we have, but also of the natural resources that we have. And there was also the problem of loss of biodiversity. So many issues were happening in terms of loss of biodiversity. We had coastal degradation, we had pollution issues, overfishing. So many of these challenges were coming in together, and one fits into the other. We cannot look at them separately because of the ecosystem being so linked that we had to look at everything in a very sustainable way. We thought that if we address education, we start working with the children. how can the children bring forth these changes into a society? If you want to have a healthy society and you want to have responsible citizens when it comes to environmental issues, the best way forward, we thought it was to work through our children. But I think we did not make a mistake then, because it really helped us to look through that lens. And you could see here the slide, we just started with a very small pilot program. And for us to be able to start with this very small pilot program on education to environment, we had to get the buy-in and the mandate from the member states. We couldn't have done it without the countries themselves agreeing to do that. So once we had this partnership going on with the countries saying, okay, let's tackle the issue together. So we decided to start with a very small program with very few schools, just as a pilot. And we developed the very first manual for education to environment. This is what the little blue book that you see on your screen. This is where we started off. And then as we moved forward, we saw that there is a need to work with the teachers as well. And at the same time, at international level, there was this change from Millennium Development Goals to Sustainable Development Goals. So we said we cannot address environment separately. We have to look at everything else that comes to it. So we moved from education to environment to education for sustainable development. And this is where we had all the teachers coming in. We started working with the teachers and the students at the same time. And then we said, okay, what were the main challenges that the schools around the schools they would find as interesting for them to work with? So these were the 5 areas where the schools, they felt it was very important for them to understand and to work. This is the life underwater, energy, water and sanitation, life on land, and climate change. So everything was sort of encompassed into one big block. Next slide, please. So how do we reach out to the children? We thought, coming from the pilot initiative, which was on a 5 years pilot initiative, we said, let's carry it all over for another 5 years. So we had another program where we started working with the children. We started with the primary schools, and now we are moving towards the secondary schools. So what we did, we had a sort of competition in the region, invite the students from the 5 island states where we work to do some stories, write up stories on what is their views when it comes to coastal zone management. Why did we choose coastal zone management? Because in coastal zone management, you have almost everything. Everything is there. You have land degradation, you have coastal degradation, you have waste management, ocean linked to climate change. So everything was there. So we asked the children to write up little stories, tell us what they feel, what they know about coastal zone management, what would they want to see, what is their perspective, and from their stories we developed the guides for teaching, the teacher's guide. We did that based on the students' stories. The next slide, please. Then we continued to move on. We wanted it to be some sort of a campaign throughout the region. And we decided to establish partnerships with the governments, with institutions, with schools, and with non-state actors. And the first institution where we went through, we decided to go on international level. There is the International Federation for Education to Environment, which is, we decided to go towards them, see what they are doing out there. And also we decided to build on the capacity, on the knowledge and that Seychelles has been promoting throughout for some times. And also based on the work that we have been doing as IOC, Seychelles has been really the lead in trying to make this change using education. So we sort of said, let's leverage on this capacity that is existing in the Seychelles, bring in some international collaboration as well, and see how this works. And Seychelles, what they did, they worked with the schools, they had education to environment with the schools, and then they went to the general public as well. And then what we decided to do, IOC, we couldn't just establish the partnership with FEE just like that. We had to go through a process. And the process was to ensure that the countries, they had the buy-in. We had to ensure that the countries were agreeable for us to work with an international institution. And then from there, we also established an MOU. An MOU between the two institutions, the IOC and the FEE. And we got some funds from the European Union that helped us to carry forth the activities that we were doing. Next slide, please. And again, that was the way we proceeded. We started with FEE, and it sort of attracted everyone, what we started to do. Then we had the US aid coming in, saying from the US embassy, saying, you have a wonderful program going on. How can we contribute? And there again, with them, we signed an agreement with the US embassy here in Mauritius, and they helped us as well to put together the program and to outreach to a lot of other schools. Then we had the WWF coming in as well, saying, we have started as well some collaboration in education to environment. How can we bring how can we bring all the collaboration together? What is it that you are doing and that we are doing that can come in together as a partnership? So we brought in as well WWF and all these things. It was through MOUs. We had to sign MOUs with everybody for us to be able to do that. Then we went to the Ministry of Education of Seychelles, saying, that is where your strength is. How can we borrow your expertise and your knowledge? And the Ministry of Education agreed to provide someone from their Eco School program, working within the Ministry of Education, to help us design the little handbook that you could see here, the Eco School Indian Ocean. So in this handbook, they helped us to understand what are the steps that the schools would need to undertake if they would want to put in place education program, and if they want to put in place small projects for their schools. So this is what we did. So the 7 steps that all the schools had to follow, and this was what we shared in all the countries where we work. And we translated the document into French, we translated it into Swahili, into Malagasy, because this is the only way you can really reach out to the schools in the communities where the English or French is not the main language. So you have to adapt it to the level of what the community would want. Next, please. So now that we have our manual, we had our buying from governments. We had our partners working with us, saying we were providing you with some funds. So we decided to establish who would be the delivery partners at national level. With the government's institution, we work with the Ministries of Environment and the Ministry of Education, because these are the 2 ministries that needs to go hand in hand. You cannot work with the schools without going through the Ministry of Education, and you cannot have the technical information without the Ministry of Environment. So we brought these two to work together. And then how do you reach out to the communities? This is where we need to change the perspective. We need to change this perception that they have about environment. So we started to work with the NGOs that are working on the ground with them, who understands the context, who knows them, and who are used to using the language that these communities will work. So this is how we narrowed it down to the communities through the NGOs, working with the schools and working with the community at the same time, because once you teach the parents, you teach the teachers, they are parents. So the parents, they go into the community as well. So there is this transformation, this way of bringing the information as we move forward. Next slide, please. So I think, lastly, what we did, what we came out with, we were able to produce all these guides. And these guides were translated into the various languages so that the the schools can use them. We had a lot of learning materials. We encourage the schools as well to develop small projects. And we monitor their projects as well, because we thought that if the schools, the children, they develop their own project, it is like learning by doing. And this at the same time, you see what you are doing, it will help with the change in the perception and bringing into the system people who would be the society that we would want to create, the society who are responsible when it comes to environment and they understand sustainable developments. And for the smaller ones, or also for the adults who wouldn't like to read a lot. So we just said, okay, let's have some comic books. And the comic books were coming from the stories of the children from all the islands. So again, it just brings in the perspective of the children. What is it that they feel and how they would want to see their society in years to come. So this is what we do. And now I would say where we stand at the moment, we have over 2,000 schools in all the islands working on the eco schools, and we've moved as well to Zanzibar Island, where we have a few schools there in Zanzibar doing the same thing. We have 5 NGOs across the region, 1 from each of the countries. That was our target, to have at least 1 NGO accredited to FEE, so that they know exactly what are the steps that they need to follow, how they are supposed to reach out to communities. We have over 21,000 children that were enrolled into the program, and they are continuously building on having their own little eco schools program and talking to the parents. This is interesting. They are talking to the parents, telling parents where they are going wrong. And at the level of the Indian Ocean Commission, we've integrated eco schools into all our programs: education to environment, education to sustainability, sustainable development. We've included that in all our programs. So all the programs that IOC is implementing needs to have a component on education, because this is how we think we have to continuously educate our students, our children, move to the secondary school, and even in the community. So we need to work on that. So the NGOs with whom we've been working, they are continuing to do the same work now. And they are also broadening the schools. And what is interesting, some of the students that worked with us over the years, this is like 15 years we are working on education to environmental sustainable development. I would say we moved on. We're now seeing some of those very same students. Well, they were students at that time, they were children, but now they are occupying very key positions, either in governments, or they are now working for international organizations. And we are also seeing that some of them, they've developed their own NGOs at national level, and they are doing a lot of advocacy and work on environment. So I think this is where our little story has moved from 5 little schools to what we have today, and having a whole lot of communities now very much aware of what they need to do and what they have to do. So I thank you.
Gina, thank you so much for that really inspirational story. The process sounds fascinating. So I want to shift a little bit. There's lots of hearts, claps coming, celebrations coming through in the emojis. Thank you for sharing all of these. We're going to shift to the next part of our conference today. So Absa and Gina are going to join breakout groups. And you as participants also have the opportunity now to join them in breakout groups. We're going to open the breakout groups in a moment, but I just want you to know that wherever you go in a breakout group, there will be a CLI facilitator there who is going to be guiding the conversation. And really the conversation now for you is to shift back into our collaboration catalyst lens thinking. You will have access to a set of slides for your group on Google Slides. You can click them. You should have the slides from each of the presenters, but also you should have the slide describing the different catalysts, as well as a slide where you can actually do some recording. I would love it if the rapporteur or the facilitator in the group from CLI also has an eye and does some of the recording in that slide. But after we come back, the slides are, I'm sorry, the facilitator from your group is going to do a very short report back so that we hear what each group perceived, what patterns they perceived, where they felt there was aliveness or where there could be more aliveness in the systems. I think that it was a great introduction, and now we're going to shift into practicing transformation literacy. So let me just quickly, briefly share the screen again. When the breakout rooms are open, you'll see in your menu that you'll have the opportunity to join. And there are the two rooms. You should join them. Please, Gina and Absa, go to your specific room. And there will be a rapporteur facilitator there who will welcome you and will give you the specific instructions to do your work together. In the breakout rooms, please choose the room to join. And within the room, you will also be able to put on your audio and your video. So if you care to, if you want to, please turn on your video. Please don't turn on your audio right away until you are acknowledged to do so by the facilitator in the room. Enjoy this moment. Please remember our norms. Respectful. Please listen actively. Don't speak too much. You're going to have 25 minutes in which to talk about patterns that you perceive, and then we'll come back for some reporting back and reflecting on the process. So Martin is going to put the links in for your specific groups. They're already in there. And please, Catherine, open up the breakout rooms, and let's join the breakout rooms and practice transformation literacy for the next 25 minutes. Okay, everybody, welcome back from the breakout groups. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed these discussions and that they were fruitful for you. Now we have the next part of our conference. We're going to have reporting back from the groups. Each of you had in your groups a CLI facilitator who is going to be reporting back. So Guillaume will be reporting back for Absa's group from the Senegal case. And then we'll have just a brief report back from Maike in southern Germany with her watch party. They will be reporting back on their discussions. They were also looking at Absa's case in Senegal. And then Mariana, who was facilitating for Gina's group for the Western Indian Ocean, will report back. So thank you again. And I would like now to pass the floor over to Guillaume.
I'm presenting now the group work that we've done. Great, so that's it. First of all, I want to thank all the group and the rich discussion that we had and all the inputs that they provided. And basically what we identified, it was that there were specific patterns there that came out. We see that co-design strategy and contextual impact have a lot of importance in this context. And then we could also appreciate that the cooperative delivery is not that strong. So then what we did was to identify which specific strengths that we could see in this partnership. And definitely there is a strong contextual impact because of the connections between the DTAL at the local level and the DTAS at the state level. And then co-design strategy is also a very strong aspect in this partnership because of the clear vision that Absa presented, that it's very clear to all the partners and it's very specific, so it doesn't become something very general. What we could see also, and what we agreed between all the participants, was that cooperative delivery is something that could be further developed and perhaps could be enlivened throughout the collaboration, perhaps even using the strong aspects such as contextual impact and co-design strategy. And it's very important to strengthen that cooperative delivery, particularly considering that some participants flagged the fact that the time scope of the collaboration is rather long, until 2065, and it's very important to keep everyone engaged throughout the process. And I think those are the highlights from our group, and I'll leave it there. Yeah, thank you to everyone. Thanks.
Excellent work. Congratulations to this group as well. This is your first practicing of transformation literacy. Excellent. The group from Constance was also working on this, and I would be happy to open the floor up to Micah just for a moment from Constance, if she's available, just to give us a couple of thoughts of what pattern emerged in their discussions. Micah, are you present, and can you come on board? Yeah, there you are. Hi.
Hi, Douglas. Yes, well, we came up, I think a lot of what we came up with was kind of close to what the other group came up with. What we found that some of the points could have been ordered in different dimensions or to different catalysts. So we were shifting things around a little sometimes, or found that they are both innovative and added to dialogic communication, for example. So that was very interesting. And then we had one specific idea, which was already mentioned on the slide Guillaume showed, which is also part of the semester project students are doing here. It's about local storytelling. So are there any stories in the initiative that might be an opportunity to use storytelling to bring it closer to other people, to become part of the initiative on different levels, like farmers that think, oh, I could do that too, but also politicians or other people you need, if they see good examples of people they can identify with that just became part of this movement, then maybe this could have a positive impact for the initiative.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we've even gotten a little prescriptive coming from our group in Constance. So thank you to Micah and her students for your perception and looking at the patterns that are emerging. I think that, that's also part of transformation literacy, is we want to focus on how. And certainly some practical ideas are starting to emerge just from a 25-minute session using the collaboration catalysts. Thank you so much to both Guillaume and to Micah for your reporting back on Absa's case. Absa, I'm going to ask you a little bit later to give us some feedback, but now I'd like to ask Mariana, who was the facilitator and rapporteur for the group talking about Gina's project, to share with us some of your conversation and what patterns emerged.
Thank you, Douglas, and thank you, colleagues. It was a great privilege to work in the group with Gina, and what we also had a great chance to learn a little bit more from Gina about the project. I will share my screen with the compass and report back a bit more about the pattern that we are observing. So definitely the project that Gina presented was pretty much focused on the axis between dialogic communication and cooperative delivery. So Gina acknowledged that the huge diversity of the islands and the huge diversity of the stakeholders engaged required some approaches how to embrace this diversity, and especially the approach of collective learning involving the kids to share their perspectives and to elaborate the project mutually getting community buy-in was a very strong approach for this project. And also having a very simple tool as a simple book was something that could help different stakeholders to come together and to deliver together around a very complete and comprehensive product. Also, the cooperative delivery was pretty much enhanced by commitments and partnership agreements, and also engagement materials that were developed. The co-design strategy was developed in both top-down and bottom-up approach. So the governments also provided their buy-in and were open to listen to the suggestions, and stakeholders were actively involved in the development of the strategies. Children voices were empowered, so from the collective value perspective, and also integrated into overall vision. And the leadership from different states, which are often marginalized, the leadership was also empowered and brought into the project. There is also a pattern around innovation. So the iterative approach was practiced. So different ages of kids and different classes were engaged into the reflection, and the approach of learning by doing was also established. What we actually didn't have so much time to reflect about the dimensions that could be used for further enlivening, but questions that we received definitely pointed out that the holistic approach that was actually practiced in the project is something that could be further developed to, let's say, scale the impact from education to the broader transformation of the value system, and making a larger impact on sustainable or enhancing sustainability in the region and in the ocean management.
Thank you so much, Mariana, for reporting back from this group. And again, really interesting work on this this slide. What I would like to do now is I would actually like to invite our speakers one at a time to just reflect for a couple of minutes on this experience. And I'll go in the same order that we've already gone in. So if I could welcome Absa to just come back into the video and just sort of tell us a little bit about your experience looking at this process, hearing about your case through the Catalyst lens. Absa, go ahead, just take a couple of minutes and offer your reflections. Absa? There we go. You're on, there we go.
Yeah, I had some network troubles, so I'm sorry to ask you to repeat yourself, Douglas. I didn't hear very well.
I just wanted to ask you if you would share a couple of your reflections or insights, having had the experience of your case having been listened to and other people reflecting on your case through the collaboration catalysts.
Thank you very much. I actually find it that exercise very insightful. To just sit there and have the inputs, the perceptions, and sorry for the background people passing by. So to really have that that talk, because it gave me, from my perspective, time to think again of the time frame, which came a lot. People talked a lot about the time frame in which base. I mean, it was there since we started, so maybe it is time to think of it again, see if it is really ambitious, and it was quite interesting. But overall, I think that it was really insightful also to looking through the lens, seeing that maybe on the cooperative delivery, there were not many things. Was it the way it was presented, or is it really a real issues that we have to work on? So yeah, so these are really some takeaway I'm having from the breakouts room. And yeah, and I also like the fact that I mean, the first time I had the intention to participate there, my goal was to actually highlight the issues and the challenges, since we have many of them. But I think that the time frame and all of that had changed a little bit or deviate my intention. And it was really interesting when Burns actually highlighted that, because it is true, we are facing challenges, and maybe we can have another occasion to highlight it. But yeah, overall, it was really insightful, and I'm very pleased to have participated in that.
Thank you, Absa, and thank you for sharing your case. It's really brave and super great work that you're doing. So thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it, and thank you for participating in this way. I'd like to pass the microphone over to Gina now, just to offer a couple of minutes on her reflections in this experience. Gina, the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting and a very interesting exercise, because one, it helps as well to evaluate the work that we are doing, because sometimes, you know, we take it for granted that we are doing everything well, and without really putting into perspective some of the things that we're doing. And this reflection is giving us that opportunity to see where there are gaps, and the gaps that we need to fill. And we had a few questions as well coming from the audience in the working group, which shows that they wanted some more clarity on some of the points that were raised. And again, it probably is, did I at a certain point give that information? Maybe that information was missing in the presentation. So these are the things that I see it was important that we discuss. And also it is having the views from those who have no idea of what the institution is doing, who has never been working with us. That was interesting as well, because it is really an outside view of what the organization has been doing. And education for sustainable development. You know, we had a question as well from someone in the group saying, is education enough? No, it's not enough. So this is one of the points, one of the areas where we felt it was important for us to focus on, but there are other things that are important as well. So, and it took us over 10 years. I just give an example, for instance, in one of the countries, it took us 10 years to move from 3 schools to 67 schools. 10 years before they understood why there was this important, it was important for us to work on education to environment. So in itself, this reflection that we have been having with the group here, it's very important, because it shows where we need to focus a little bit more, the approach itself, the delivery, how are we going to do the delivery, and what are the innovations that we need to bring in. So I think this is where we sit. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, as well for participating, for having this, for sharing this really interesting case. I think as well as you noted, there's something about the narrative which can be complete or more complete. And you know, we gave you a very short time to present your case, so of course I'm sure that you required some more time to contextualize. But I'm very, very happy. I hope that you'll think too, Gina, about the sort of pattern that is emerging, especially when people listen to the work that you're doing at Absa as well. This is, the core of practicing transformation literacy through our lenses, is having the opportunity to take a look to see what patterns are emerging when your stakeholders, or even outsiders take a look at the narrative of your project. It's probably very different, but as we like to do at Collective Leadership Institute, is to iteratively apply these lenses within our different collaboration systems, projects, and initiatives. The regular looking through these lenses not only helps us to develop the perception of how the project is going, but also helps us as a collaboration system to improve our transformation literacy. This is just, a little bit of a taste of what it is that CLI gets to do regularly when we work in this iterative fashion in our projects. I wanted to share a few more slides with you before we sort of finish for the day. Just to say that we have another 2 sessions coming up on Wednesday, same time from 2 to 4 p.m. The CET, and Friday 2 to 4 p.m. CET. Also on Friday, at the end of our conference, we'll have a half-an-hour wrap-up session, a sort of massive wholeness perspective from our partner and CEO, Elizabeth Kuhn, who will be providing us with a broad overview of the transformation literacy learnings that we've had during the week. Just a couple of things, if you're interested in connecting with us, use your iPhone and check out this, but also just pop onto our website and you can find all this there. We have an upcoming course, The Art of Leading Collectively, at the end of June. If you are interested in or if have a project or an idea that needs collective leadership approaches, write us an email at germany@collectiveleadership.com and we may be able to partner together. If you're interested in learning about our practices, you can download for free our Leading Transformative Change Collectively book. It's totally open source as a PDF. You can read it and learn all about some of these things that we're talking about. And if you want to be a part of our movement, you can submit your project to our annual Transformative Partnership Award. We've had our first this year, second will be next year. We also want to highlight the opportunity to support our Young Peace Builders program. We have still some spots that require funding. This is a new program for us. Applications are closed, but we still have applicants who we can fund more. If you want to donate, please, you can by writing or through PayPal at finance@collectiveleadership.com. Martin is also going to drop a few other links potentially into the chat, but also at the end of our session today, if you want to see more about our work or connect with other people or see the expo space, join the expo space to see booths from other stakeholders who've been here today. And that would be great as well. You can connect with us, with other folks as well. Please check out the chat. And finally, just a brief checkout. Our checkout for today, any kind of reflections that you would like to share with us. This is our checkout. What's a feeling, a thought, a question with you as we close today's session on partnerships? Take a look, write your response in the chat and take a look to see what's emerging in the chat. And much thanks for being here with us today. Thank you to Gina and to Absa. Thank you very much to the CLI team who was working very hard in the background. Dominic, Catherine, Martin, Guillaume, and Mariana, thank you very much for your help today. But please feel free to check out from my side. Thank you very much for being with us today. Please join us again Wednesday and Friday. That's all from my side. Check out in the chat and goodbye, everybody.